Chapter 1. The Keisha Miller Story. My name is Uzziah Yahil. I am the gatherer of the Electus Bellator. My existence is neither confined by time nor bound by mortality. I traverse the epochs, seeking those destined to stand against the darkness that will one day engulf the world. My mission is to guide these souls, to illuminate the path of righteousness before the final battle with the Antichrist. Yet, I cannot coerce them. Their choice between good and evil must be their own, and that choice holds the weight of eternity. Today, my journey takes me to Anniston, Alabama, in the year 1989. There, in the shadows of the Hobson City apartments, a young soul teeters on the edge of destiny. Her name is Keisha Miller. A brown, fifth-generation Lincoln Continental coupe, its once pristine finish now dulled and battered, rumbles into the parking lot. The engine's low growl echoes faintly in the cool, still night. The vehicle comes to a halt under a flickering street lamp, casting jagged shadows across its aging frame. Inside the car, a man sits hunched over the wheel. He is large and imposing, his broad shoulders straining against the seams of a greasy leather jacket that has seen far better days. Sweat trickles down his face in rivulets, mingling with the grime of his unshaven cheeks. The air inside the car is suffocating, thick with the pungent stench of cigarettes and stale alcohol. The man pulls a smoldering cigarette from his lips, his dark eyes narrowing to slits. His hands tremble slightly as he grips the steering wheel, and his muttering grows louder, more venomous. "These white devils," he hisses, the words oozing hatred. "They think they could take my daughter from me." Beside him, the passenger seat is ominously empty, save for a gleaming snub-nosed revolver and a half-empty box of ammunition. On the floor, several empty bottles of Crown Royal rattle as he shifts his weight. He yanks the cigarette lighter from the dashboard, its glowing coil illuminating the car's interior for an instant before igniting another cigarette. The man takes a long drag, his expression hardening with resolve. His movements are methodical. As he picks up the revolver, loads each chamber with a deliberate click, and slips the weapon into his pocket. He steps out of the car, his boots crunching against the gravel-strewn lot. The apartment building looms before him, a silent monolith under the pale glow of the moon. The silence is shattered by the deafening crash of a door being kicked in. The frames splinter as the man forces his way inside, his broad frame filling the doorway like a storm cloud ready to burst. "Where's my daughter?" he roars, his voice guttural, snarl that reverberates through the small apartment. Inside, chaos erupts. The occupants, a man, a woman, and two small children, scramble in panic. The adults scoop up the children and dart towards the back of the apartment, their frantic footsteps pounding against the worn linoleum. The man follows, but his steps grow unsteady. The alcohol coursing through his veins betrays him, and his vision blurs. He stumbles, clutching at the wall for support, before collapsing onto the floor. Time passes. The man stirs, groaning as his eyes flutter open. Man, what happened?" His head throbs with a dull ache, and his mouth tastes of ash and regret. As his vision clears, he notices the door he had destroyed has been propped up against the frame. But something else catches his eye. His breath hitches as he sees them, the bodies. The adults lie motionless in the narrow hallway, their lifeless eyes staring into the void. Deep, savage slashes maw their bodies, their blood pooling beneath them and staining the floor, a sickening crimson. The man stumbles to his feet, his heart pounding in his chest. Panic seizes him as he picks up his revolver, the cold steel trembling in his grasp. "Hello?" he calls out, his voice crackling. "Is anyone there?" A faint shuffling noise comes from the back room. His pulse quickens, and sweat beads on his forehead as he edges towards the sound. "I got a gun," he warns, though his voice lacks conviction. He pushes the door open and freezes. There, in the dimly lit room, kneels a young girl. Her soft hazel eyes glisten with tears that stream silently down her cheeks. She clutches a tattered stuffed rabbit to her chest, her tiny frame trembling. Her mahogany skin glows faintly in the moonlight, filtering through a cracked window. "Keisha," the man breathes. The girl resembles her mother. It's uncanny. Her delicate features a mirror of the woman he once loved. For a moment, the man feels the weight of his own failures crushing him, but there is no time for reflection. He tucks the revolver into his waistband and scoops Keisha into his arms. Her body stiffens as his touch, but she doesn't resist. Her father carries her out of the apartment, his eyes darting nervously in every direction. The air feels intense with unseen eyes watching him, but he sees no one. He places Keisha in the back seat of the car, her silence haunting him. With a sharp screech of the tires, the Lincoln tears out of the lot onto Martin Luther King Drive. The man's hands grip the wheel tightly as he speeds towards Highway 78, leaving the blood-soaked apartment and a storm of unanswered questions behind. Bernard drove more than 30 miles away from Anniston, the vibration of the Lincoln's engine steady as the night stretched on. His knuckles whitened around the steering wheel, and his bloodshot eyes darted constantly to the rearview mirror. The darkened roads behind him remained empty, but he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Keisha lay silent in the back seat, her small frame curled against the cracked upholstery, the rhythmic motion of the car finally lulling her into an uneasy sleep. Eventually, the Lincoln pulled into Pell City, Alabama, a quiet town that seemed frozen in time. He navigated through the empty streets, finally turning down First Avenue. The road ran parallel to the railroad tracks, their rusty steel glinting faintly under the moonlight. Bernard pulled the car into a gravel driveway behind a small, weathered-worn cottage. The house leaned slightly to one side, its white paint peeling in long strips, but its windows glowed softly, a beacon of familiarity. Rolling the window down, Bernard honked twice. The sound echoed in the stillness before a tall, lanky man emerged from the back door. His figure was gaunt, his gray beard tangled and long, hanging past his collarbone. His ashy skin caught the moonlight, making him look like a ghostly apparition. "Bernard, that's you?" the man called, squinting into the darkness as he shielded his eyes with one hand. Bernard leaned out the window, irritation flashing across his face. "Put on your glasses, Pops. I got Keisha in the back seat." The old man straightened his expression, shifting from confusion to joy. "You got my grandbaby back there. Oh, my. Let me see her," he exclaimed, hobbling toward the car. He peered into the back seat, his glasses crooked on his nose. Keisha's small face was serene and asleep, her chest rising and falling with each breath. Bernard climbed out of the car, circling around to gently lift Keisha into his arms. She stirred slightly, but didn't wake. The weight of her tiny frame against him brought a pang of guilt, one that he quickly shoved aside. Without a word, he carried her into the cottage, the old man holding the door open for them. Inside, the cottage was a modest little home, as Bernard remembered it. Faded floral curtains, mismatched furniture, and the unmistakable scent of piped tobacco lingering in the air. He placed Keisha carefully on a pull-out sleeper sofa, tucking a worn quilt around her. Bernard sat heavily in a nearby lounge chair, grabbing his pipe from the side table. He fiddled with it, but his mind was too clouded to light it. His thoughts churned, images of the slashed bodies, the blood, and Keisha's tear-streaked face flashing in his mind like a reel of horrors. "I don't know what's going on," Bernard muttered aloud, though his words were mostly for himself. The old man, Clifton, stood over the stove in the corner of the room, cracking eggs into a skillet. The hiss of oil and warm scent of cooking filled the air. He turned, his voice soft but steady. "She'll tell you what happened when she's ready. Ain't no rush. Let her rest." But Bernard wouldn't have to wait long. "Grampy Cliff?" Keisha's small voice was hesitant, and Bernard's head snapped towards her. She was sitting up on the sofa, rubbing her eyes as she stared at Clifton across the room. "Yeah, baby girl, it's me," Clifton said with a wide smile, flipping eggs onto a plate. "Grampy made you some breakfast." Bernard rose quickly, the pipe clattering to the floor. "Keisha, how you feeling, baby?" Keisha didn't answer. Instead, tears welled in her hazel eyes, spilling over as she began to cry. Bernard crossed the room in 3 quick strides, scooping her into his arms. "Oh, baby, it's okay, I'm here. I'm never letting you out of my sight again." His voice cracked, and he fought back his own tears, holding her tightly as she sobbed against his chest. Clifton approached, balancing a plate of scrambled eggs and sausage. Now, don't you cry, my little pumpkin head," he said softly, setting the plate down on the sofa. "Grandpa made you something special." Keisha sniffled, wiping her face on her father's shirt, and reached for the plate. A small smile tugged at her lips as she took a bite. "There we go," Clifton said, his voice warm and encouraging. "Grandpa's cooking always make the bad stuff go away, don't it?" Bernard stepped back, giving Keisha space as she ate. He stared into the flames of the fireplace, his mind racing. He needed answers, and he needed them now. But he waited, letting her eat in peace. Finally, Keisha broke the silence, her voice shaky but clear. Dad, there was a wolf man there." Bernard turned slowly, his brows knitting in confusion. "A wolf man?" Nisha nodded, her small hands gripping the fork tightly. "He came right after you passed out. He had fur everywhere, claws and big teeth. He killed those people. Dad, I saw him." Bernard blinked, his mind struggling to process the words. "What are you talking about, baby? A wolf man? Are you sure?" Keisha nodded again, her voice more urgent. "Yes, he was huge and he growled and—" "Keisha," Bernard interrupted gently, his tone cautious. "Are you sure you wasn't dreaming? Like maybe you hit your head or something?" "I wasn't dreaming!" Keisha's voice rose, her fist balling in frustration. "I saw him! He looked at me, and he didn't hurt me, he just left." Bernard exchanged a wary glance with Clifton, who remained quiet, his expression unreadable. The story was strange, too strange to believe outright, but the conviction in Keisha's voice sent a chill down Bernard's spine. Something had happened in that apartment, something far beyond his understanding, and whether it made sense or not, he knew one thing for certain. He had to protect Keisha at all cost.